So we were looking at data frames. So continuing this idea, what I've got here then as my data set is, rather than use a list, I've used a dictionary. So we've got lots of different brackets going on here, so don't get too overly confused about this. I have a curly bracket which contains obviously the data set, and then inside that I've got a dictionary, and these square brackets are for the data frame. We looked at these before. So whereas before I said in the first one here was the person and then the age, all I'm doing in here is using a different type of data set. So all of the first column is on this first row and all of the second columns on this row, and I'm just putting the column headings within the data set. So if I print that data set here, you'll see we get exactly the same kind of thing at the bottom. I'm getting make, year, mile, city, mileage. So they're just on separate lists. So you can see here each one in the list relates to where it appears in the data frame. So Ford 2012, 2000, 2002, Cardiff, and so that's that first. So it's just the way that it's been laid out is a little bit different, but it's the same thing. When we look a little bit later on, we'll start to pull some of this data in from spreadsheets where it'll already be formatted in columns and rows for us, so that'll make life a little bit easier. Now, what I can do is begin to use a couple of very common Pandas commands. One's lock and one is ilock. So first we're going to look at what's called lock. So I'm just going to paste this in from the clipboard. So what you can see here is I've got data set. That's the name of the data set here. All right, so if I just comment that out so it doesn't print the whole thing, what I'm saying here is in my data set, look for a location. Now, location is based on the labels. So I'm saying look for make, which is just here. And I want that to be equal to, now remember we need two equal signs because we're not defining a variable, Ford. Okay, so that should, in theory, go off and find Ford. Okay, so don't forget the final bracket here. So we're printing in the curved brackets dataset and location of dataset.make, where the make equals Ford. So if I run this now, it only gives me the row that contains the Ford. So if I was to then change that to Mazda and then run it, it just shows me the Mazda. So it's a little bit like when you've got a database and you're going off and you're finding information and it's just returning, what you've written in the SQL statement. It's the same sort of idea. Now, another thing we can do is we can extend this out. So if I just go and grab this whole line that I prepared earlier, what we can see here then is I've got the option to add with the ampersand, with the and sign, another thing to go look for, so it'll find them both. Again, a bit like an SQL statement works. So same sort of thing. Look in the data set for the data set make where it equals Ford. That's what we did earlier on. But instead of now finishing this off, I'm moving into the square brackets this extra thing that says and look for dataset dot mileage. So it's going to look here where it's less than 25. Now if you look here, you'll see the mileage for the Ford is 82. So when I run this, it comes back, oh well, I know there's columns called make, year, mile, city, but there's nothing in the index. There is no Ford that has mileage of less than 25. There is one that has mileage of greater than 25. So if we just change that, just to show you that it does actually work, and then run that, it helps if you put the right sign, run that, and then you can see now it shows me the Ford with a mileage of 82. So for this example, if we had several Fords, several Hondas, which you probably would have in a long spreadsheet in a car sale place, for example, you'd be able to filter out if the customer says, oh, I'm looking for a Ford, I want a Fiesta, I want it to be red, I want it to have done less than 50,000 miles. You'd be able to build something like this that says dataset make, dataset model, dataset miles, dataset color, and just go off and find that and just return the results just here.